Welcome, low ego action heroes. This is Debbie Levitt from DeltaCX.com. We are a full service CX and UX consultancy. We do projects, training, and consulting. Check us out. Even though I still haven't updated our website. And welcome to episode 24 of our Think Out Loud series, which means this will end up in the Think Out Loud playlist when I'm all done. And this is the 5th episode that we've done on this fake Disney Vacation Club project. I don't know about you, but I feel pretty done with it. So I think after today, we should just kind of walk away from this project. I'm happy to start something new next week. Pretty much all of our project ideas come from you. So these have to be fake projects. You can't have me do the work of your real job. But if you are learning UX and trying to practice it and you have an idea for a fake project or maybe something someone asked you to take a look at, send it in. Go to deltacx.com/links and you'll see where you can send in your idea. I don't do all the ideas that are sent in, but you're welcome to send yours in case it is a match for what we're looking to do here. So Mondays, I do realistic but fake work, live and out loud, thinking out loud so that you can learn from my process. So when last we left off, we were looking at the Disney Vacation Club way to book, first to search for available rooms, and then get your search results and possibly book the room. I don't think we're going to make it through all of that because, again, I feel a little done with this project after 5 weeks of fake projecting. But I think that after what we're going to work on today, what I would normally do is spend a few days cleaning up and improving the prototype, making sure that it works realistically. So all the things that I've kind of made half-baked right now, I would fully bake them and make sure they function well and realistically, even though it is an Axure prototype. Not sponsored. If you'd like to learn Axure for free, check out the lessons here on YouTube in my Axure playlist. And then I would probably do some quick unmoderated usability testing with 5 or 10 people just so I can see if this idea is headed in the right direction. I don't need my idea to be done to do some usability testing. If you've planned for this and budgeted for this, then it's here in the sauce. Hi, Manuel. Good to see you. Hope you've been well the last 2 weeks. So that's what I would probably do, because especially on a big project like this, which again is totally fake, but we're treating it as a redesign of an important flow on a website that has many customers. I don't necessarily want to wait until I've designed everything to make sure I'm going in the right direction. Now, some say, well, isn't that just an MVP? Don't you want to release some small slice of something to customers so that you can get that feedback early? And I say, well, the problem there is that the MVP normally imagines, hi, Niku, good to see you again. How's Canada? The MVP normally imagines that engineers have built it, which means they spent weeks or months coding your idea, and maybe your idea or concept or execution stinks. Hey, Alvina, good to see you again, too. So it's much better to go through some cycles of UX prototyping and testing early on before we burn engineering's time and budget, because I don't want to make engineering build a bad idea. So even though some people love the concept of the MVP and releasing something to customers to see what they think, that can be really risky and wasteful if we are giving people a crappy idea. So I would say let's test that idea early. So that's what I would normally do next, and those are the reasons why I would do it. Let me know if you have any questions. As you can see from the screen, I'm getting everybody's questions pretty much in real time. So if you have any questions about anything I'm talking about or anything I'm going to do today, let me know. If you're watching this video later and you're not live, please do post a question underneath the video. I answer all questions personally as soon as I see them. So let's jump over to our project and let's take a look at where we left off and what we're going to do today. Let's see if I can press the right button. It's been 2 weeks. Who remembers what button to press? So here's me, the optional tip jar, oh, we forgot to thank all of our usual peeps. Hold on, where's that screen? Hey, sorry about that. Thanks to the usual peeps for donating to the YouTube channel by having pressed the join button. We really appreciate everybody giving a little money. Keeps me in streaming software and chocolate chips. So thanks to everybody there. All right, back to this. So here's where we left off. And what we did last week was we were designing the searching for a room interface. Now you might think, oh, Deb, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's plenty of hotel websites out there. Why don't we just use what they're doing? But we don't want to do that because the Disney Vacation Club and timeshare audience, use cases, needs are going to be different than just booking your average hotel, because this is a timeshare system that works with a point value, not with a week value. We talked about this in episode 20, so if you missed some of the early domain knowledge around this thing, go back to episode 20 and that will catch you up. So also, it doesn't make sense to just rip off what other companies are doing. They might be doing it badly. It might not be a match to your audience. Certainly won't be innovative. Can't throw around the word innovative if you're just copying other companies. So we were looking at what is the least amount of questions that we can ask someone to deliver them the search results that are most relevant to them. Now that's an important sentence because we could ask people fewer questions. We could say, well, I don't want to ask them yet if they need a disability-friendly room. I'll ask them that later. But the problem with that, so could this form be shorter? Sure. But the problem with that could be you may show them search results where for hotels that have no disability rooms available. Does that mean they got the right search results? I would say no. So we want to make sure, always think about the context for people. And again, we're pretending in these fake projects that we've done research and that we're not just guessing at the best ways to do this. We're going by the real knowledge that we would have from early generative research that we did plan in episodes 20 and 21. But of course, I didn't do it. I can't afford to just do fake research all the time. I'm losing money on this stuff. So that's why there's a few more questions here than you would normally see on like a typical hotel search. So we've got their arriving and departing date. We've got a little bit of knowledge design here in that the system knows something about when people can book certain hotels and when they can't. So we're going to help them with that. Hypothetically, and this is something I would build out in the prototype before taking it to testing, if somebody picked a date that was outside of the window, because we talked in episode 20 about the booking window, that there's only a certain number of months ahead that you can book in this system. If somebody tried to book something beyond that window, how would we message to them that that was that they can't do it? Now, the way the current site does that is it kind of says, well, do you want to be on the wait list for that? But it shows you that in the search results. So that's another interesting question as well that we would want to figure out through our research and through our usability testing is, would people rather search now for a date outside their window and put themselves on a waiting list, or would they rather be kind of locked into searching for what they can get? And also, do they understand the waiting list? I don't. And so how do we make sure they understand what the waiting list means, if there's any further action they have to take? So there's so much complexity to this. We're not going to get to everything we originally hoped to, but we did spend 5 episodes on it. So I think that's a lot. So we ended up with, what dates are you traveling? What type of room would you like to get? Hypothetically, people could pick more than one of these. Maybe they're open to a studio or a 1-bedroom. Maybe they're open to multiple types, or maybe they're not sure how many people are coming yet, and maybe some of that decision is affected by what size rooms are available. We also had a question about which hotels you prefer. We also put knowledge design into this. Now, if you're saying, why does Debbie keep saying knowledge design? What is that? Is that different than regular design? It is. But if you'd like to learn more, just go to YouTube and type in Delta CX knowledge design, and you'll find something from our micro lessons playlist where Larry Marine taught us about knowledge design. We're taking things that we as the company or the database or the system know, and we're building it into the interface, not through tooltips and training and how-tos and onboarding tutorials, but through just really simple design that makes sure people understand things naturally. So for example, where are these hotels located? If your family knows that they want to spend most of their time on their trip at near the Magic Kingdom, they might want a hotel closer to the Magic Kingdom. So now ultimately there's hotels near 4 or 5 different places at Disney World, Florida, but just as an example, I only built out 2. That's a little bit minimum viable product of me to just build out part of something, take it to usability testing, make sure it's going in the right direction. Niku says, how would you phrase a research question when you want to understand if users understand a certain feature? How do we make sure it's an open-ended question? So always a great question. You can go back to episodes 20 and 21. For this particular one, we did a huge generative research plan. It ended up really big for a lot of reasons. And so do people understand a certain feature? Normally what I do is I do not ask them, look at this, do you understand it? Or look at this, how would you use it? These are already biased, they're leading. You've drawn someone's attention to something they might have not seen or ignored. Now your testing is flawed and possibly even invalid. So the thing is, you don't need a question. You need a task. So hypothetically, if I were going to usability test this, I would just give people a task. I would just say, you and 4 family members are going to be traveling to Walt Disney World, and you're considering, I would give them a date, because chances are I wouldn't make my prototype work for every date on the planet. Now, doesn't that mean that we won't learn how they decide what dates? Sure. So we could, in an early testing, I might give them fixed dates because that might be all my prototype can handle. Hey, you're thinking about going, early August before school starts. Well, it is mid-August, so that's a little bit weird. So maybe you're thinking about going the first week of November after Halloween, and you're thinking about going these dates. And then from there, take it from there. And remember, I will have recruited from DVC members, people who are part of this system, people who do this. I wouldn't just go with the general traveling population, because this is a very specific system used by members of this timeshare system. So instead of asking people, what do you think about a certain feature? All I have to do is say, you're searching for rooms that might be available for a potential vacation you'll take first week of November. Go. You will be able to see if people understand or use or ignore a certain feature or not. So especially if you can get them to think out loud. So you might do this moderated and ask them some follow-up questions. It could be unmoderated and you're just working from them talking out loud. But I never ask a question I mean, you can't say never. Sometimes you might do something, but I pretty much almost never ask people a question about a certain feature, because that typically biases things automatically, because then people are now paying attention to that feature and they might not have. So don't make it an open-ended question, just make it part of the task. For example, people have asked me, how do I ask people if they liked our onboarding tutorial? And I say, you don't ask them if they liked the onboarding tutorial. Give them a task that requires them to do something past the onboarding tutorial and watch if they even skip the onboarding tutorial. You'll have your information. So it's really all about planning the right task or tasks when it comes to usability testing. Thanks, Niku. Great question. Let's imagine that we did make some of these checkboxes work in Axure. So I could say, oh yeah, I want all of the Magic Kingdom resorts, or gee, I really want just Old Key West, and ooh, I heard Bay Lake Tower is nice. I think I'll do that. Now, this is what's the word I'm looking for? Realistically usable, realistically interactive. I've made these things look like they really work, so that hypothetically I can just tell someone, you're looking to travel, and I might not even tell them how many people. I might just tell them the dates, because I might have only built Acture to understand November. So, you're looking to travel in November. Pretend it's November, even if you normally wouldn't go in November, for your family or whatever number of people you tend to go to Disney World with. I might even not tell them how many people, and go and just see what they do. We'll learn so much just from shutting up and watching it. So what I wanted to work on today in the 45 minutes that we have left was what might search results look like? Because the search results currently on the website are not great. Now, we had the question come up in previous episodes of the DVC project. Why am I not looking at the DVC search results while I'm designing this? And the answer is, when you do something like that, you end up making an incremental improvement. You will typically, accidentally or on purpose, look at what's currently there and kind of ask yourself, how do I make this a little bit better? And I think if we don't look at this, if we pretend we are solution agnostic, it doesn't matter how this works now, we are here to build the best way that this could work based on the research that has hypothetically been done. So I am not going to open up the existing way and kind of flip back and forth and just try to make this a little bit better. I also want to remind everybody over at deltacx.com/links are all the links you might want to know about the show. You can join our Slack community, and now we are starting a Discord community. So if you like both, you're welcome to join both. If you like one, you're welcome to join one. The Discord is just getting started. It's a little bit quieter than the Slack, but I'm sure it'll pick up soon. We already have 100 and something people there. Hello, I missed a lot. Yes, maybe. And then also tomorrow will be office hours with Dr. Nick. So don't forget to get those questions ready. And you can also use this link to send them in ahead of time. Also, I want to remind everybody of our upcoming Concentric conference. I planned the hell out of this thing, and I know you're going to love what we're teaching there. So take a look at deltacx.com/Concentric, CONCENTRIC. That'll be in October, so hurry up and get your spot. So today, let's take a look at what might search results look like, because there's a huge amount of complexity here. What if somebody said, I want to see all the hotels? Now, all the hotels are going to have different availability. One's going to be not available at all. One's going to be available some of the days I wanted, but not all. Some are going to be available all the days. How are we going to show this to people so that it immediately makes sense? It's clear. Now, we might consider a question here of, or maybe on the search results page of, do you want to see all the search results or only the ones that have full availability? Full availability meaning this hotel is available for all the dates you picked. Maybe people have flexible dates. They want to see where, I asked for 5 nights. This hotel has 4. Let's just do 4. Amir says, what questions are that UXR won't answer them? I apologize, but I don't understand your question. Can I ask you to please rephrase it and ask again, because I'm not sure what you mean by that. Okay, so let's go into Acture and take a look at doing some design. And we also have to consider things like, do we want the search results to show up lower on this page? So often search results take people to a fresh new page, right? But then what happens when you want to change your search parameters? You have to go back, or they have to build the search into this page. And so even though it's a search results page, it's also a search page. So that's another thing that I would want to play with and probably test is it better, more efficient, more helpful for people to have the search results on the same page where they can scroll back up and start changing some of their parameters. Hypothetically, in our research, we would have seen if people tend to have that behavior where they search for something and then go, oh, wait a minute. You know what? I would stay at Polynesian. Let me add Polynesian. Okay, now I have to search again. So we would have learned that from research. Here I'm just guessing, but of course we would hypothetically know if people tend to have that behavior, whether they just kind of do one search and they're very locked into those preferences, or if there tends to be flexibility where they're changing their searches or doing multiple searches to try to find the right answers. So let's imagine that we include the search results lower on the page. And so the page kind of continues loading for people. And so let's imagine, I'm going to just do a little something with Acture here. Let's say that there is a dynamic panel here. And again, you might not understand what I'm doing in Acture. If you haven't taken my Acture lessons, then I'm using some words that aren't familiar, like what's a dynamic panel, why or when do I need one? I would say please do take my Acture courses if you would like to learn more. Otherwise, just disregard some of the Acture lingo I'm going to use. Okay, this is fit to content, so I'll have to deal with that later. Let's call this the search results panel. And this will be hidden by default, and it will be shown once we've got something for people to see. So let's jump into our dynamic panel. And let's see, one state is going to be a spinner because I'm going to pretend that people are waiting for search results. Yes, that is something that I normally prototype because let's face it, every time you do search results, there is time, whether it's the fraction of a second that Google sometimes needs, depending upon how fast your internet is, or it might be seconds and seconds, So we have to, that's a realistic part of the experience. Let's not forget it. So let's call this search results. So if I want to go into the spinner, let's see. I think Acture has a default spinner that I can use. I didn't totally love it, but let's just drop it in for now just so that we're not working too hard on easy stuff and we can always adjust this later. Yeah, I don't love this, but we'll put it in anyway. So here we go. Let's just drop it here. Again, just as a placeholder. Let's see. Is it going to spin? It's going to spin for 1.5 seconds. That's shorter than you think. We might need a longer spinner for how long that's where I go to the tech team and I go, hey, on average, how often does it take our search results to come back? And they might say, oh yeah, 4 seconds. That's how long I make this thing spin. So that's where that's another fun collaboration with the tech team. Amir says, you can answer at the end. UX research some questions like what is pain points and user needs. That are the questions we can answer with UXR. Now is the questions we can't answer them. Okay, I'm still not understanding this question. It might be better for tomorrow's office hours. Today I'm trying to focus on designing this. Can you come back tomorrow at the usual time and ask that question, and Dr. Nick and I can answer it. I'm trying to keep today focused, especially if I don't want to continue this project next week. Niku says the spinner is such an interesting detail, helps the user understand the status of their request. Yeah, and hypothetically this could be a themed spinner, it could be the castle, Mickey Mouse, fireworks at the castle. Chances are there's something in our design system or component library that we've already designed. We have a default spinner for the site. I'm not reinventing the wheel. I would go into that design system and I would just use it. Here I'm just going to have this as a placeholder. So we'll have our spinner and then we'll have our search results. So let's say that our search results have a headline that says available resorts. And again, we've talked earlier in this series about how all of my text is placeholder text. I know I'm writing terrible stuff. I am not the writer on this project. I would definitely be collaborating with a content strategist, content designer, writer. They would tell me the approved or correct things to put here. So assume this is all lorem ipsum placeholder text for now. So this would be their search results. Let's just go back to our page for a moment and take a look at this. This should be fit to content, but Acture's doing something weird. Let me take another look at this. Is this, no, it's a scene. Loaded, rotated. All right, well, this might not work, but even if it doesn't actually spin, I would fix that later. Oh, now it's happier. Press save. Okay, and we're also missing, who can tell what we're missing, a submit button so that people can get their request out there. So let's grab a submit button. I made some buttons ahead of time, so we'll just copy and paste this one. And again, is the button left, center, right? Somebody who keeps the design system will know that. This is just placeholder stuff for me. I'm more worried about flow, information architecture, interaction design. I'm less worried about pixel perfection and spacing and some of that other stuff. I just want to see, like, is my idea going in the right direction, which is probably why I would be doing cycles of usability testing, not just one. I would do cycles. I would, fix it. I would do more design. I would do more testing. So again, I'm writing check for rooms on the button. The writer might come back and say, no, that's not what our buttons say. They really say something else. But again, I am just I'm just doing the placeholder thing for now. And I can tell Axure that when this button is pressed, here we go. When somebody presses this button, oh, I hate working from this side bacon strip. Here we go. When somebody presses the button, no, I didn't want that. Sorry. And for some reason, my mouse moves really slow when I'm sharing this. Set panel state of the search results to the spinner. Show panel. Get back here. Sorry, I lose control of my mouse for some reason. Then, wait. So let's imagine that someone said, yeah, you know what? Our average search is taking our server 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds. We can put that in here. So let's say I put 2 seconds, which is 2000 milliseconds. And then I can say set panel state of the search results from the spinner to the other thing. So there we go. Niku says, what are your thoughts around conducting cycles of design and usability testing in companies with sprints or agile methods? Have you come across effective usability testing models within these settings? Yeah, ultimately, my advice tends to be that UX has to kind of disconnect from agile. Agile shouldn't be controlling us. Agile is about making engineering work more efficiently and releasing in shorter cycles. It's not about how UX works. Agile tries to drag us into how agile works, but our work is completely different, and it's really hard for us to try to fit into what they do or how they do things. Would it make sense if we told engineers that they had to use user-centered design and our way of timing things? They'd be like, get out of my stuff. Raphael says, I can prepare the Axure stuff for you. Thank you, Raphael. I am one of Axure's recommended trainers and have been since 2014, so I promise I can do the Axure stuff. But for some reason, when I share my screen like this, my mouse moves very slowly, and so I am unable, so I look like I'm working more slowly. Plus, I do want to take the time to explain things as I go. Plus, this is a fake project, so I don't need anybody to prepare anything. So you can see that this part is hidden. And now if I say check for rooms, we get the spinner. Of course, this looks terrible. And then it should have changed to the other thing, but something's gone wrong here. So let me do a quick fix. And then we can take a look at how we want to lay out our search results. So I'm just going to add a show just because I'm not too sure Axure got that right. Man, why is my mouse so slow when I get here? This is a show. And show search results panel. Set search results to search results. And there should be text here, and this should be... I just updated my Acture before I started this, and it looks a little wacky. And my mouse is moving slowly again. It should show available resorts. If it's being grumpy, we'll just do something else so that we can work on this with our last half hour. Elvina says, what do you think of rapid iterative testing and evaluation? Is it worthwhile to change the design based on the results after only one usability testing session before the next one? Yeah, this is one of those very bad ideas that's out there, and it's usually left over from how non-UX people used to do things. So, or as I've seen, some people who are charging by the hour or day like to do this because it makes the project longer. But it's actually not a rapid method, and it also runs into the possible bias that we've met one person who has some really kind of edge case preferences or whatever, and we've redesigned it for them, and we've missed what other people need. So remember that when you do usability testing, you are supposed to be testing with at least 5 people per persona or segment. If you have 4 target segments, you are supposed to do 4 times 5, and that's without including people with disabilities or accessibility needs. So the idea of testing with one person is really ridiculous because you will really miss out on what multiple people will find. And did we test with someone with a disability or accessibility needs? So I'm going to write that one down. That is a bad one. I know it's out there, but it's left over from another era. Rapid iterative testing and evaluation. Yeah, it's so funny. Usually the same people who want that, because it seems fast when it's really not, also don't like UX research when they say, oh, well, you're only talking to a few people. What can we learn from a few people? But then they want us to test with one person. Pick one. All right, so let's take a look at how we are going to lay out our search results. How can we make it clear what resorts are available at what times, and how many points it will cost you? So obviously in the timeshare universe, you're not spending money, you're spending points. And also, how can we use knowledge design to tell people whether or not they have enough points? Because if they're logged into the system and they're doing this search, we know how many points they have, and we know if they have enough points to do this. And if they don't have enough points to do this, we're going to have to find a way to message this to them. So again, you could see that this is a very complex project that we could work on for weeks and weeks, but I'm starting to worry it's just getting a little bit old and boring. So I'd like to start with something new next week, unless for some reason people are loving this. So how will we show what resorts are available? So let's start with imagining that we start by mentioning a particular resort. And again, I'm just guessing at font sizes right now. Certainly I would be working from a design system, a component library, something where the font sizes have been standardized. I wouldn't be guessing. All right, so let's imagine that Bay Lake Tower. And again, we do run the risk that we are going to show people search results that don't match what they searched for. That's why I'd probably need some time to build out the prototype to behave a little bit more realistically, so I can try to take one of the things that they checked off and show it here. But that's, that's a little more complex. So Bay Lake Tower, how can we show people if this is fully available, partially available, or not available, and make that really clear? Well, first of all, could we put some words that make it really clear? Will words make it clear? I don't know. So what I'm doing right now is I am just thinking out loud, and I am just trying an idea. The idea may end up terrible. No idea. The idea could suck. Oh, I see. I'm not at 0, 0. That's why this is That's why it wasn't showing. And then what about this? Yeah, that one's fine. Okay, so what if I say this is partially available? If we say something like this, do people notice it? Is it helpful to them? We don't know until we test it, but for now I might drop it on the page and I might change my mind later. So I remind everybody that I don't sketch first. That's just my preference. I typically go straight into Acture and I start bringing my ideas to life to see if I think they're going to match what we understand about users' needs and tasks based on the research we've done. And of course, in this case, we're pretending we did the research. So would something really clear that says partially available be noticed? Or would people not notice it? Did it help them? Did it not help them? The usability testing will tell us. So Bay Lake Tower. Now, at this point on the page, we're really far from the original search. We're really far from the original dates. People might say, oh, what dates did I even search for? Yikes. Now, the question is, do we want to collapse this stuff into an accordion so that they can see the dates more closely? Do we want to repeat the dates? Do we want to say, you searched for blah, 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 here's the results? We could try something like that. And again, I'm just playing around and playing with ideas. I might decide later the idea stinks. I might take the idea to testing. But what if we tried something a little bit texty? And again, it might not work because we know people sometimes just don't read. But what if we try, you searched for November 1, 2022. Let's put days of the week. I don't know what date that is. I'm going to, let's see. Let me check quickly. What day of the week is that? Sunflower says, trying to conduct good usability testing and getting actual participants and translator countries has become such a challenge. Lots of people to ask to improve incentives. Is this normal? It can be, yeah. And so typically before you are translating and things like that, I would probably, first of all, the translating thing I'm not sure about. You'll have to explain that to me because typically we interview people in their language. So if people are German and would be using this website in German, even though I don't think it's available in German, but hypothetically, if this website were regionalized or localized, then we would be talking to them in German and I wouldn't need a translator. I would hire a German researcher or freelance researcher so that we're talking to people in their language. As for improving incentives, yes, you always have to get the approval for that. That's something that your manager or leadership should be helping you with because you want to make sure that you have access to participants and that you have the budget for incentives. Good reminder to me. Let's write down budget for incentives. All right, so this turns out to be Tuesday, November 1, and I guess I'm just making updates here to Sunday, and I'm using American style dates because this is an American website, so they would probably be using American style dates. You searched for, let's see, 1 bedroom or 2 bedroom, and again, that adds complexity. Disability friendly room. So again, does this work for people? Do they care? Did they look at this? Did they ignore it? I don't know. I don't know until we take this to usability testing, give people the task and see how they react to it. Elvina says, how can we use the research data to understand how to build the hierarchy on the page? Right. So the research data in this case, hypothetically, would have been a task-based observational study where we would have taken people who are, if you check the research plan, we were going to take some people experienced in the timeshare system and those new who recently bought into it. And we were going to watch how they plan their vacations now, the types of searches that they do on the Disney website or even outside of the Disney website. We were going to learn more about how they budget and who they collaborate with. So ultimately, this was going to be a task analysis adventure. And once we saw how people approached their task, we would be designing based on what we learned from observing them. Now, in this case, we didn't do that research. It's all just fake. And so, yes, I am kind of guessing here and I'm pretending that I have good research data that's guiding me. But obviously, we didn't do the fake research, so we don't have that data. But I would be building the hierarchy on the page based on what I see people doing, based on anything they say that where I notice frustration or pain points. They go, oh, that was on the next page, that was on the search results. I wish I could have known that earlier. Okay, maybe that's a good idea. Maybe it isn't. You know, sometimes in research, people have terrible ideas, and we don't just do it just because someone says it, which is another problem with the rapid iterative testing and evaluation. We often take what that one person says as some sort of holy gospel, and we just build what they say. And that can end up being a lot of cycles of, I mean, what are you going to do? If person one says, do this, and then person two says, oh my God, I hate that, I'd never use it. Are you now going to undo it? What does that mean about person one? It's a messy approach. So let's imagine that Bay Lake Tower is only partially available. How are we going to express this? We have some choices. There's words and there's calendar. And then the question is, if we use a calendar interface, how do we make sure people understand what dates are available for what types of rooms? Because in the current website, you can only search for one room type at a time. You're looking for a 1-bedroom. Your search results are for 1 bedroom. If you change your mind later and you want a 2-bedroom, you've got to run your search again. Now, we might decide for complexity's sake that we're not going to build that yet. You know, this has to do with scope. Maybe we're just going to let people search for 1 room type at a time, and they can always scroll up and change their search parameters. So maybe that's just something we do to try to make this project a little bit smaller, get it out sooner, make it better. So how are we going to show this? Now, I had a page that I called Unused Ideas, and I had put a calendar there. I'd started playing with a calendar. I didn't work on it since I saw all of y'all because I've been away and off the grid. But let's say we copy and paste this over to our design and think about how this looks. Now, of course, my fake calendar says August. Disregard that. This would hypothetically be November. So again, this is another thing that I would be fixing in my prototype before I took it to testing. Sunflower Seed says, the product is for multiple countries. A lot of our research requires help from translators. Sometimes this stretches the interviews quite long. Yeah, I think I would say, if I'm understanding you correctly, I would say that is not the best way to do the research. If you're doing the research where, say, for example, the researcher speaks English and the participant speaks German and you have a translator translating, that is considered not the best way to do that research because you have the bias or color or changes that the translator puts into this. It is always better to get a researcher who speaks that language natively and to have the native speaker speaking without there being a translator. Not only will that not stretch the interview quite long, but then your expert researcher who speaks that language natively will understand people, the way that they said things, the way that they meant things in a way that only their language and culture can express, and not trying to English-ize that or whatever the case may be. So I would not be working with translators. I don't recommend translators for UX or CX or user research. I recommend, even if it means bringing in a freelancer or an agency for a temporary project, I recommend that. Now, they can always report on things in English so that everyone can digest it, but I wouldn't want a translator to color or change what someone is saying. I would want the researcher to do the best job possible capturing this. Okay, so we pretended that there's the searchers agree that's ideal, but we don't have the resources. But you have the resources for the translator, and you have the resources for the sessions to take longer, which probably means a larger incentive because you're taking more of their time. I would run a cost benefit analysis on this because I'm not sure that yeah, check this one out. I'm a little worried about this one. Yeah. All right, moving on to this actual project. These questions are better for tomorrow's office hours. So we talked last time about how we probably need to show 2 months because there exists the possibility that someone is booking a trip from the last few days of October into the first few days of November. We can't just show 1 month. It is unlikely that people will plan a trip longer than a month, so we should be able to get away with showing people 2 months at a time. But again, we could always usability test this and see if there's anything wrong with that approach. So imagine that they're looking at August and they're looking at September. I know these don't look exactly right. This is just placeholder for now. Whoa, that's not how you spell September at all. Okay, there we go. And again, my spacing isn't right, and I'm not agonizing over some of the spacing and stuff, but just imagine. Now, what's all these numbers here? Because the timeshare system is points based, we have to make sure people understand how much points per night their stay might be. And we need to make sure they understand what is the total points that they might spend. Oop, come back. Acture, what are you doing? What's the total number of points that they might spend on this? And then, of course, we need to be able to tell them, do you have enough points? And, oh, I'm having a tough Acture day. I'm so sorry. I'm out of practice. All right, so let's slide this over here. There we go. And let's pretend that the dates that people picked lit up in some way or changed color. So it was really obvious on these 2 calendars which dates were yours and which dates were not the dates you searched for. And let's take a quick look. Let's do a refresh and take a look at how this is looking. There we go. Okay, so that is the bottom of this page as of now. So again, I would probably work to light up the dates that they had selected, but we also need to find a way to make it clear which days are available and which days aren't available. And we'd also need to, what if people start clicking on other days? Can they click on other days? If they click on other days here, does it change other search results on the page? So this is where I'm usually taking some notes because I need to remember that I have to solve these problems. I have to figure out, can people click on this and start picking different days? And if they start picking different days here, does it change search results elsewhere on the page? So again, I keep notes and I normally keep them in my Acture file. We saw some of my notes in earlier weeks on the page that I called Unused Ideas, where I had some reminders to myself. These are some things that I would discuss with my team. Are these in scope? Can we try these ideas? And then I also made some notes about knowledge design, that if we were truly taking people through the full booking flow, things happen after people book a hotel. This is a Disney vacation. They're going to need park tickets. They might need dining reservations. They might want to reserve a golf course time. So we're not going to get that far in our time together because I'm trying to wrap this up in the next 10 minutes and walk away from this fake project. But I want to make sure people understand how I'm approaching the project and how I think it out and how I make notes of the things that I have to solve. And I don't always know the right solutions. That's why I've got usability testing, because I can take this idea and I can put it in front of someone. And if I see them, think of the 4 horsemen of bad UX. Some people know my registered trademark, the 4 horsemen of bad UX. If we see frustration, confusion, disappointment, or distraction, we know something in this design isn't right. Not that the users are not smart or whatever. We have to account for that. If our users aren't smart or aren't savvy or don't know how to use the system, this is not solved by complaining about them or building in tutorials. The system has to be intuitive. So I would be designing some of this, and I'd probably do some quick usability testing with 5 people, maybe 3 newbies and 2 savvy people, just to see if my idea is going in the right place and in the right direction, and make some early changes. For unmoderated short usability testing, maybe this will be 15 minutes for 5 people. Normally we don't give huge amounts of money. Maybe you give somebody $20. And so hopefully there's a budget for that. So we would be taking a look at, now we're saying, why is this, we've said it's partially available. What dates is it available? And we have to find some way to demonstrate this here. Very often, hotel booking systems indicate availability with really obvious colors. So for example, here, just as a placeholder, I made a lot of dates gray. Gray might not be the right color. Maybe we have a special color palette for what is an unavailable date versus an available date versus a date that I've selected that's available or unavailable. So we would probably end up needing some sort of system. You usually don't want to message too much with color, because when you message with color, then people have to learn your color language. So is there a clearer way that we could use putting things in a box? Could we use a clear icon? How can we message something to people without making them feel like they need to learn a language? That's a mistake that is easily made with both color and with icons. Sometimes people go, yeah, there's 4 different things that could happen here, so let's use 4 icons. Do people understand these icons, or are you showing them hieroglyphics that they're going to have to learn? So we just have to make sure that whatever we do is really clear. And I won't be sure that whatever I've designed is really clear until I've taken it to usability testing and started to show it to some of my target audience to see where it can be improved. Remember that for usability testing, you're not trying to prove your idea is right, or that your idea is the best, or even good. You're trying to poke holes in it. You're looking for complete invalidation. Oh my God, my idea is going in the totally wrong direction. This whole thing sucks. Or you're looking for, hey, there's some good things here. Some things are working really well for people, but they got stuck in some places, or they didn't understand what to do next when they saw these calendars, or they thought the calendars took up too much of the page. I need to make the calendars smaller. There's so much that you're going to learn once you bring this to testing. We've only got a few more minutes together, and so I'd like to get any other questions people have, especially about designing this and the approach I would take to designing this, as well as the cycles of usability testing that I would be doing, so that I can keep improving how well I am solving problems for the target audiences as I go. All right, so, excuse me. So we might have something that's partially available. We might have something that's completely available. We also have a question. And again, this is something I would write down on my list of questions is, let's say people search for Bay Lake Tower and Old Key West for a certain set of dates, and let's say nothing is available. Do we just want to tell people, hey, sorry, you searched for this and we have nothing? Or do we want a 0 search results? You'll sometimes see ZSR. Do we want a 0 search results design that says, hey, I know you searched for these things, they're not available, but guess what is? You know, you can't have those, but you can have, everyone say it with me, Saratoga Springs Resort. That one's usually available. People like it the least. So do we want a ZSR that will help people still get something? And that's something I would also usability test, because people might say, Oh, you don't have my dates available? You're showing me Saratoga Springs? No, I don't want that. I don't want the things that I didn't search for. Or people might say, yeah, that was really helpful. I didn't search for that, but it was good to know that something was available because I really had my heart set on those dates more than I had my heart set on the particular hotels. So again, there's so many different behaviors and use cases that we have to account for. That's why I'm trying to think all these things out. I would be making lots of notes about different ideas that I have that will, and each of these ideas is meant to solve a problem. Zero search results solves a problem of we gave people a dead end. We told them, nope, sorry, nothing. And we didn't give them some alternative option that might have been okay. Maybe it wasn't okay. Maybe I don't want Saratoga Springs no matter what. Maybe I'm just going to go back up and search for different dates. Or, sometimes zero search results is, sorry, there was nothing, start your search again. And we have a button and it sends people to the top of the page and they do their search results. That's another idea. I would be prototyping all of these ideas. I would bring them to life using Acture. I would walk through them a few times myself, trying to imagine the perspective of the users based on what we learned about research. And then I would, once I feel like I had the idea that seemed to be solving the problems, that's when I want to show it to some users. But I don't want engineering coding anything yet. My idea is not ready. It is still in the oven. Niku says, in your research, would you be looking at representing certain personas? Yeah, we talked about, early on here, we talked about the personas in general of savvy existing timeshare users who are pretty used to searching for hotels. They tend to know Disney World better, so they know what hotels are near what. They know they need dining reservations. That they've got that knowledge. Even though they might not have all the knowledge, they're more savvy. They've got some knowledge. And then we talked about the bucket of people who are new to the timeshare system. Maybe they just bought in last week and they're still new to Disney World, but they got so excited that they bought a timeshare package and they've never navigated this before. They're not really sure what they're doing. Does it make sense to them? So those were kind of our two key buckets. And then within that, we wanted to meet people across genders with accessibility needs, and not necessarily native English speakers, though the Disney website is in English. And Niku says, I got to check out the previous episodes. Yeah, if you go back into the playlist on YouTube, the Think Out Loud playlist, this fake project started at episode 20. We spent a lot of episode 20 on domain knowledge about the Disney system. And then we started some of the research planning. Episode 21, we did more of the research planning. I can't remember if episode 22 was research or design. And then we've been designing for a few episodes. But this is the approach that I take. And I think this approach surprises some people because it's different than what they've heard about or what they've read about or what they saw a video about or what they imagine UX to be like. They imagine that I have a to-do list that was given to me by a coworker. The coworker said, make sure it does this and make sure it does that and make sure it does this and make sure it does that. That does happen at some jobs, but I generally consider those to be crappy jobs because most of us in CX and UX want to be problem finders and problem solvers. I do not want a to-do list from a coworker saying, make it do this, make it do that, make it do this. To me, that list, if there is one, comes from research. It shouldn't come from a coworker guessing what this thing should do. It shouldn't come from a coworker or high-paid person who says, here's a couple of slight improvements we can make to what this is now. This really should come from, oh my gosh, we did this research with the giant mountain of people that we planned, because I planned a mountain of people. Wow, we really learned what people struggle with and go through and who they collaborate with when they're planning this vacation. We can really reinvent this in a way that's going to just work for people, make more sense, and kind of secretly hold people's hands through the tough stuff without them even knowing we're holding their hand. They're not going to feel preached to. They're not going to feel tool-tipped to death. They're going to just get it. So while I know many UX jobs have some coworker who says, here, just make this. We call this production design. That's being an order taker. To me, I would rather be listening and seeing what the research said, even if I'm not the researcher, even if someone else or another team is the researcher. If I get good research, it really informs my design. I could say, oh, this is how people do this. We have to build this in. Or, holy cats, we've got two families who are going to travel together. They're in different cities. When they get these search results, they want a way to share them with each other. They want a way to say, hey, look what I found. Now you check this out. Does this work for you? How can we build in a collaboration tool? Obviously, that makes this project bigger, more complex, more expensive, longer. But sometimes a company goes, yeah, that's really going to fix problems. Wow, we're going to have fewer calls to customer support because people will be able to figure this out themselves. We're going to have more people booking more efficiently, which means rooms are being taken up and people are coming to Disney World and spending their money. We're going to, you can always find business reasons why doing these things makes sense. Or there could be business reasons to say, there's some cool ideas here, but let's save them for a phase 2. Let's see how phase 1 goes. And that's cool too. Sometimes you have to take a giant project and split it up. But we don't, as much as possible, we don't want to do a project because this is what the product manager or boss says it's going to look like. So we just have to be careful. We are supposed to be problem finders and problem solvers. That's why this project really is so complex. It's really difficult. There's a lot going on here with this booking and with these search results. I've only scratched the surface, but I'm always hoping that these Think Out Loud shows just give people a window into how I approach projects and all the different things going through my head. You can see all the different ideas I'm coming up with, the questions I'm asking myself, the questions that I'm then going to ask my teammates. That's part of collaborating with engineering, product managers, marketing, legal. I mean, you never know who you need to go to and say, what's going on? What's going on with stuff? So yeah, so I'm going to wind this show down. And hello, it's me. And hey, and thanks to everybody. Remember, please do send in something for me to work on next week, something fresh and new. Let's get away from hotel booking at Disney. I'm done. How about you? 5 episodes. Yeah, we gave it a lot. So let's do something fresh and new together where we can maybe plan some fake research, maybe do some design, and take a look at how we would find and solve those problems. Now, again, you don't have to be the researcher and the designer. I happen to have a background in both. You are absolutely welcome to specialize in just one. But if you're the researcher, research. If you're the designer, make sure you're using stuff from the research to inform your design. Niku says, have a good day. I'll look for something to send you for next week. Good, please do. And again, that goes to deltacx.com/links, where you'll find all the links related to the stream, including links for joining our Discord and our Slack. So quickly, let me tell you our show schedule for the week, since I'm now back from my trip. So tomorrow will be double office hours. I will be doing office hours at 10 a.m. Italy time tomorrow, as well as the usual 6:30 p.m. Italy time. Tomorrow will, for the second one at 6:30 p.m. will be special guest Dr. Nick Fine. So come have both of us answer your questions for free. On Wednesday, if it's not rescheduled, since it might end up rescheduled, we're going to have Abby Covert on to talk about her new book. I'm hoping we'll still do that, but we'll see. I got an email from her today. Not sure if we'll have to reschedule. Friday, possibly critical thinking might get canceled or might be earlier than usual because it's a very special person's birthday. Oh, what time are we having dinner? 8 p.m. And how long does it take to drive there? 45 minutes. Friday's critical thinking stream will be earlier than usual so that I have time to get to my own boyfriend's dinner. All right, so that will be this week on the show. I'm planning lots more through August and into September. I'm going to be, let me tell you about some of the shows I planned that aren't even in the calendar yet. They're on my to-do list. September 14th, we're going to have one of my favorite visual designers on, and she's going to talk specifically about visual and UI design, portfolios, and interviews. So if you are more into the UI and visual design side of things, she's going to be answering questions about that. Who just agreed to September 21? Now I forgot. Someone just agreed to September 21. And I have to go check my records as to who that is because I'm still slightly in trip mode. And then Michelle Ronson just agreed to September 28. I asked her to please talk about proper recruiting. That may be for you, Sunflower Seed, and everybody else. The importance of making sure we have the right people as participants in our studies and what happens when we've got the not right people. So these things are still being planned. They're not even in the calendar yet. And of course, remember to check out deltacx.com/concentric for our upcoming conference. And I'm also doing more transforming toward customer centricity trainings, which you can find at deltacx.link/TTCC-training, all lowercase. All right, with that, I'm going to play us out of here. Thanks again to the people who joined. Great to see you back again. Sunflower, I think you're new to me. Raphael, new to me. Amir, I think we might have seen you before. Message deleted, we've seen you. And Niku, Manuel, and Elvina, good to see some of our regulars back. So everybody have a great rest of your Monday, and I'll see you tomorrow twice for office hours. Bye. Customer centricity as business intelligence. Visit deltacx.com to learn why we are